So my name's Bob King. I'm National Secretary for Defence for the Trade Union Prospect. So we're mainly white-collar, professional, specialist scientists. I also lead for Defence for the Confederation of Shipbuilding and Engineering Unions, covering around about 200,000 members across the UK defence, so, but also in engineering. So we'd cover everything from reactors made by Rolls-Royce through to ships built in Rosyth, through to commercial shipbuilding, aerospace, F-35s, Typhoons, the whole lot. So a fairly sizable chunk of individuals that we look after. Well, I'm here because I'm a member of the UK Shipbuilding Skills Task Force. I'm one of two trade union officers who sit on there. Eddie from Harland and Wolff, who's a Unite rep out there, also sits on there. And not just to represent the workforce view as you would traditionally imagine us to do, but a huge interest in the future of the industry, which, if we get it right, is going to be massively, has a massive potential for the UK economy in terms of long-term, well-paid, high-skilled jobs. We've just finished a session on export value as well. So we're involved in what's called the Global Combat Ship project, which is the Type 26, which is now being built around the world in yards in Australia and Canada. Announcement yesterday on AUKUS, which is the tripartite US, UK, Australians nuclear-powered submarine project. Already confirmed that the reactors for those will be built by our members in Derby and Rolls-Royce, which is fantastic. And also there'll be regional jobs because it's such a big project. And we'll also be building a lot of the work for that in Barrow and Furness, which also employs not only thousands of people, but the supply chain throughout the UK. So the specialist equipment needed to build ships and submarines is a long stretching supply chain, which supports, I think when we did the numbers just for Rosyth, to keep it parochial, was about 3,500 people work there. For every pound spent, it generates another 35%. And supports about 6,500 jobs across Scotland. That's just one yard. That doesn't include Govan, Scotstoun, all those on the Upper Clyde. So it's a huge industry. It's high skilled. It's transferable into other industries as well, which is a key thing. So if people can sometimes get a little bit queasy about the area I look after, which is warships and submarines and all the rest of it, but all those skills are transferable into green skills. So colleagues at Camel Aird built what was going to be called Boaty McBoatface, which ended up being the Sir David Attenborough. There's a showcase at the moment down in Westminster in Parliament about how technology advanced that ship was. So that was at Camel Aird's. So yards in Liverpool, yards in Belfast, yards down on the south coast as well. All of those thousands of jobs and the communities that go with them. So if you went to somewhere like Devonport, which is a huge shipyard, obviously down on the south coast, the actual town is effectively built around the dockyard, and the thousands of jobs that are supported through education and healthcare and just shops and news agents and everything else is because of that industry. And it is a long-term industry because those skills can build so many more things than just submarines or warships. Well, the nice position that we're in is we actually need more people. So, for instance, a recent bid for Fleet Solid Support that went to a consortia where they're going to build in Ireland, in Belfast, in the Harland and Wolff yards. They need 1,200 staff. And we heard yesterday from the Development Secretary for Northern Ireland is they've got full employment, so they haven't got any people. So essentially, we're in a kind of nice position that we've got all of these jobs, all of which have money behind them. We have a relative amount of investment from the government, although obviously we'd say they could always do more to grow these skills, but we haven't got the people to fill them. So we need to. So the biggest challenge for the workforce at the moment is mobility. So you're going to need to take a workforce to these yards. It's the same with Barrow. Barrow's an enormous yard where they build submarines. We have to take the people to Barrow. We can't move the work around. You can't build parts of a submarine in your garage. It can get a little bit inconvenient. As we talk about on the Shipbuilding Skills Task Force, one of the biggest challenges is the fact is we know the technology that builds a ship now. We don't know what the technology that's going to build a ship in 10, 15 years time is. So we have to foresight, try and work out what's going to be next. and try and train people for the adaptive skills that they may need. So we know there's going to be a lot of AI, we know there's going to be a lot of robotics, so we can start to do that, but we don't know what the fabrication methods are. We have to foresight for the skills. So numbers of people, foresighting of skills are probably the two biggest challenges we've got. There's a lot, as somebody who kind of is relatively outside the industry looking in, there seems to be a lot of fluff. So there's an awful lot of, everybody's got a committee about something. You know, I work in the trade union movement. We're famous for, what tea should we have? I don't know, let's have a committee and a 4-year plan. But we're nothing compared to this industry. There are groups of initials of people that meet on a regular basis. Nobody knows what the output is, but everybody thinks it's somebody else's job. So I think what we need to do, and I suggested it speaking earlier, we have a little bit of a controlled fire, get rid of some of these groups that don't seem to contribute and focus down. And it was good to see, because obviously my area is mainly defence industry, but it was good to meet with commercial shipbuilders. And as part of the UK Shipbuilding Skills Task Force, we visited Princess Yachts, and we visited berth and boat yards, and some of the the smaller boat builders that I wouldn't normally have gone to. I normally go to, yards like Scotstoun where they build Type 26 or Type 31 at Rosyth, and see that those shipbuilders and those boat builders have got the same problems. They need the skills, they need to attract people into the industry. And I think the common view that's come away from certainly the conversations I've had, and I'm going to steal Rear Admiral Rex Cox's line, is we need to make shipbuilding sexy. Because if you Google shipbuilding, the first picture that will come up will be a black and white of a load of guys hot riveting the Titanic together, probably, and that's not attractive. That's not what people want to do. People like the digital skills. If you had the opportunity to go to Scotstoun and see, they have essentially a 3D wall where you can walk through the pipe layout of a Type 26, and if you put that on the internet, you're probably likely to get 15, 16, 17-year-olds go, oh, actually, that looks interesting. Whereas if you show them HMS Glasgow on the hard stand with the rain coming in sideways, they're going to go, yeah, probably don't fancy that. Probably do media studies instead. So we've got to increase the image. We've got to get a better image for shipbuilding. I think everybody in the room knows that. It's just they really, really need someone to say, right, this is what we're going to do. This is the direction we're going to go in. Hopefully, we'll get some traction out of this. I think the National Shipbuilding Office have made a huge contribution to that. I'm always very impressed by Rex. I'm not just saying that. I say that off camera as well as on camera. Always hugely enthused by his passion for the organisation. And we need a little bit more of that. A little bit less committees, a little bit more passion and drive, I think.